going to begin on our backs today. Have your strap within arm's reach. Use your elbows, your hands, your core to come on down to your back. Wiggle your feet away from one another, let your knees drop in on one another. Place your hands down on your belly. I'll start today with a full breath in and a big sigh out. Yeah, if you need to do more than one of those, you can. Sighing and lengthening your exhale in general. It helps to reset the nervous system into the parasympathetic side, the tendon different sides. It's a really great way to start your practice. Let the lips come closer together. Teeth stay apart and start to watch the breath in and out through your nose. Take a little, what I call the Mona Lisa smile or the Buddha smile in your lips, just the tiniest upturn of the corners of the lips. Smooth out the skin between the eyebrows. Melt your body into your mat. While we're here, for the last moment that we're in this position, give your body a little bit of a scan, noticing what body parts feel good, what body parts might be talking to you right now. Commit to making this practice a practice that fits you. So if you need to modify anything, go for it. If you need to hold anything for longer, you're welcome to do that as well. Full breath in, exhale, and give yourself space on either side. Open up your knees, and let your knees just start to windshield wipe side to side, right to left. Let the knees and the thighs drop all the way down. That's why we have to move the blocks out of the way or the props out of the way. If one side feels particularly therapeutic, you can hang out there. If you keep your feet nice and wide from one another, like kind of hovering on the edges of the yoga mat, you will end up with your thigh stretching out the upper lateral aspect of your hip and your thigh, and that's a place that's a little tricky to get to, so it's really nice to get to it. You can go slow, you can go fast. And then finding your way back to center. Throw your right knee into your chest, grab behind the right thigh. Start to stretch, straighten, and bend your right knee a couple of times. So the whole purpose of this is not to necessarily go 100% straight into the biggest hamstring stretch you've ever had, but just to warm up the muscle at the back of the thigh. The hamstrings are 3 dense muscles that we often ignore, sometimes even in yoga classes. So once you have warmed it up a little bit, straighten out your leg as much as is reasonable for you. No need to force anything. And walk your hand up the leg to where it feels like a really gentle stretch. And start to interlace your fingers wherever that is behind your leg. And push your leg forward a little. So I'm playing a little tug of war, like I'm trying to lift my shoulders off the floor, but of course you don't have to do that. And relax. See if the knee creeps any closer to your chest. Check that your toes are pointing straight overhead towards the top edge of your mat. And again, push your thigh or your calf or your ankle or your foot, whatever you've gotten hold of, forward towards the front end of your yoga mat. Just start to push. Make it pretty active for about 5 seconds. Feeling a little pull through the arms and then relax. Make sure your jaw is relaxed, your face is relaxed, everything's happy. Let's do one more of those. If it's reasonable, creep your hands up towards the ankle, just half an inch more, 1 centimeter more, and then pull. This time, if you want to, you can also consciously bend your knee a little bit, like you're trying to dig a hole in space with your heel. You can see how close your thigh comes towards your chest. No competition, no pressure. You're gonna hold your leg where it lands and then straighten out your left leg on the yoga mat. Now, if you prefer to use your strap here, you can also have the strap around the foot. Try to get it around the ball mound of the foot so you have a little bit of way to angle it and to change the shape. The strap will usually let your knee go a bit straighter, and it will give you something to push into with the ball mound of the foot. Whether you have your strap or just your left hand on the leg now, you're going to take your right thumb and hook it into the webbing, the fold right at the top of the hip. Hopefully it's not webbing there. And you're going to press that thumb down and away towards the front of your yoga mat. And then grab hold of the strap again, still pretending that you're sitting down with that right sitting bone. And start to take your leg a little bit across your body. So right about here, and I'm only maybe 30 degrees across the body right now. I'm already starting to feel a little tension. So I'm going to curl my toes back and point, and curl and point, curl and point, flex and point at the ankle. The strap is really nice for this, but again, even if you don't have the strap, you can get the same effect. Maybe switch the strap to your left hand so that your shoulders can stay rooted on the floor. Again, don't worry about whether your knee is fully straight. Just find an area that feels potent for you. So I'm going to take the leg even further across the body, coming into what looks more like a spinal twist, but I'm also feeling it along the outside of the thigh and the hip. And then maybe all the way into this revolved spinal twist. Now, if that doesn't feel good for your low back, go ahead and grab your block or whatever you got and place it under your leg so that the depth of the twist is not so high. Full breath in. Exhale, chin to center, knee to center, leg to center. And this time, draw your leg into what looks like half happy baby pose. Again, grabbing behind the thigh, at the ankle or the outside of the foot, whatever would feel good to you. Strap or no strap, it doesn't matter here. And then let's bend the left knee, release the right foot, set it down, and windshield with the legs side to side. As you do this, just notice if feet are wide apart again. Just notice if you get any difference in sensation, right versus left. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So knees point towards the ceiling. Wiggle your feet closer to hip distance apart. Bring the left thigh in, catch behind the left leg, and bend and straighten, bend and straighten. So there's that familiar waking up of the muscle back there. And then find a fairly straight position of your leg. It doesn't matter if the knee is perfectly straight or not. You're gonna hook your hands behind the thigh or behind the upper calf, and you're gonna push a little. Remember that feeling of like pulling your shoulders off the floor. You're pushing your leg forward towards the front of your yoga mat. This is the contraction state of the muscle. Obviously the muscle at the back of the leg is contracting. And then relax and see if it comes closer. This technique has the fancy name of contract relax. You're gonna move your hand up towards the back of the thigh, or sorry, back of the calf if that's reasonable again, and push. Create that tension head does not have to come up. You can keep it down, but you're really pushing the leg forward, 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 and feeling the shoulder blades start to arch up off the floor. And then relax back, drawing the leg naturally in, just to see if it gets any closer. The leg's in a totally relaxed state right now, except that I'm keeping it up towards the sky. And then move your legs, your hands that is, a little closer to your foot if that's reasonable. And again, this time you might dig the heel in to an imaginary hole in space, pressing it forward. And then relax. And just notice if there's a bit more freedom on the back of your leg as it comes in. This is where you can again grab your strap, place it around the ball mound of the foot, meaning the base of the toes. And you're gonna hold the strap here, a couple of full breaths. And bring your right leg out slowly onto the mat. Just notice if there's a difference between one side and the other. And that right leg is gonna be energetic and strong and straight. And the left knee can again still have a little bend to it. So start to point and flex your toe a couple of times. And then begin to take the leg in the direction of moving across the body. So you might find that you go 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 30 degrees, and you gotta stop because there's a lot of sensation outside of the leg. And so at that point, you're again going to point and flex your toes. Use your breath here to allow your nervous system to stay in a calm, relaxed state. And we can keep it really simple. So sighing is powerful like we did earlier, but also just an emphasis on the exhale. Maybe pausing a little at the bottom of the exhale. And then slowly draw the leg across your body, moving into a spinal twist. My block just happens to be there, so I'm gonna land on my block. But you could also land on the floor if that works for your spine, your body. Aim to keep both shoulder blades down to the floor, a soft expression on the face. Aware of your breath, aware of how the twisting constrains the breath, but also challenges it to move into new parts of the torso, the abdomen. And slowly bring the leg right back to center. Bending your knee, coming into something that looks like half happy baby pose. So hands can grab behind the thigh, at the calf, at the ankle, or at the outer hip. Right leg stays straight, left knee is bent. Slowly release, but instead of straightening your leg, just set the foot flat, knee bent. Bring your right leg, foot flat, knee bent. And separate your feet just the tiniest bit wider than hip distance. Your block, or if you prefer like a pillow or blanket, you can go between your knees. You're gonna bring the block in the skinny direction, pretty close to the knees, but still on the flesh of the thighs. Hands to the floor, and start to rise up into what I call a low bridge. So shoulders in line with the hips, in line with the knees. Exhale and lower down. And notice as you go up and down, we're gonna go up and down a couple of times. If you can keep an even, steady pressure on the block, and if you can feel every inch, every vertebra in your spine as you descend and ascend into the bridge shape. So the bridge is probably one of the most active poses we've done yet. Really firing all of the muscles rather than pulling on them. And it's firing both your quads as well as your hamstrings. And we're gonna come up this next time and really squeeze into the block so we also get the adductor group, the inner thigh group. So pretty much every muscle around the hip, around the knee is pretty active here. And you want to make the hamstrings more active, my favorite way to do that is to lift the toes and try to dig the heels in a little to your yoga mat back towards your head. One more breath. Exhale and slowly release down. Yeah, that was a nice one. All right, let's flip over onto our bellies. And I want to offer a suggestion for anyone who either feels like the front of your hips are really, really tight, or that you get low back pain when you're coming down onto your belly. Grab your blanket and fold it maybe like so, or maybe into kind of thirds. The idea is that the blanket is going to be a support that goes from under your rib cage to the very top of your pelvis. So that's about the distance it should be. Now you don't have to have this, but it does feel kind of good. So the front part of the hips are right on it. And if you try it and you decide you don't like it, you can always take it away. So we're going to warm up specifically the hamstrings for a moment. Make a pillow for your forehead by taking the hands down to the floor, and then bend one of your knees, pointing your toes. Keep your thighs parallel to one another. And from this 90-degree bent position where your calf, your shin is up and down, it's vertical, you're just going to kick your butt a couple of times. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And release. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So thighs stay parallel. The glutes are active. You're pressing your hips down into the floor, pointing your foot, and then kicking. Little light kicks towards your bone. About 10 of them. And then release down. Bend both of your knees and start to windshield with your feet here. Notice how this feels different than it did on the other side. Yeah. Linger to the right, you can do that. Maybe bending and straightening your knees just a little bit. And if you want to linger over to the left, you can do that as well. This motion should be very much more about the hip in the socket. You see how my leg is just moving in space, and not so much about the pelvis. When it's about the pelvis, it looks like this. The bone moves side to side, and that's going to put more stress on the low back. So you want to keep the pelvis as neutral as you can, going side to side. It's okay if it lifts up a little bit. That's pretty normal. And then straighten your right leg totally and completely and glue your toenails down into the floor. Of course, imaginary glue. You're going to open your right arm out to the side, which feels really nice. Bring your left hand under your left shoulder and start to roll onto your right shoulder and lift your left leg. Maybe tap the ground behind you. You're starting to get at the front of the left hip. If you can bring your hands to touch your toe, bonus points, right? Come back to center and slowly lower it down, and we'll take it to the other side. So left arm moves straight out from the shoulder. Squeeze your glutes a little to press your pelvis down to the floor, so left toenails stay down. And then the right leg comes up and over. You're trying to tap whatever's on the floor over there. I think I hit a block. Got the floor finally. Again, you can play with the idea of bringing your foot a little closer to your hand, but you might also have to bring your hand a little closer to your foot. Make that happen. Top cheek is active to open up the front of the head. And we'll come back onto the belly. Let's do that one more time each side. Make a pillow for your forehead if you like with your hands. Come back to center. Let's prop ourselves up on the elbows just to get some nice thoracic rotation. When you bring your elbows right under your shoulders, this is called Sphinx pose, and you can look left and right. And really let the rotation happen from the shoulder blades, so from the thoracic spine, so that one shoulder is moving forward as you look at the other shoulder. And back. And bring your left hand closer to your right elbow. And really push down. You can bring your right hand right beside you. To protect your back as we go into the quad stretches, I want you to pretend that there's a little, like a little line of ants following like some dripped honey, and you're just gonna scoop your belly up to try and make space for those ants. Bend your right knee. Keep your belly engaged. Press your pelvis to the floor. So remember, the pillow should be under the soft tissue of your abdomen, not under your pelvis at all, the blanket. Reach back, catch your foot, and of course, if it's not within easy reach, you've got your lasso of your strap here. Yeah. And so you're gonna do the same thing we did with our hamstrings, but here in the belly down position. You can push your foot into your hand or into the strap. It will feel like it's opening a little bit. It will feel like it's a lot of work on your quads, maybe even a lot of work on your kneecaps. Keep the pelvis down. And then relax. See if the heel gets any closer to your hip. We're gonna do that 2 more times. There's gonna be a 5-second push of the foot into the hand, and then relax, and a push of the foot to the hand, pushing the pelvis down into the floor at the same time, and then relax. I'm gonna come around and just give you guys some hands-on feedback, but work with that new range of motion. So instead of staying way out here, if your knee did come in a little closer and a little happier, close to your hips, then stay there. And then if it gets a little closer and a little happier, then stay there. Just make a pillow for your forehead with your hands. Now, grab the strap. Oops. Here. And focus on pressing this down, your pelvis down, and pushing your shin into the strap. Better?
Yeah.
So, if you have any low back stuff from being on your forearms, even with the blanket under you, you can do the same thing and get the same benefit by being in a more neutral spinal shape, just so you know. So this idea of pushing the foot away and pulling in, and pushing the foot away and pulling in, it's really important to protect your spine, and that's, of course, one of the simple ways to do it. Okay, so I'm gonna show you an eventuality. It doesn't mean it's gonna happen in this moment, but kind of eventually where you're moving is you're bringing the heel within reason. That's the most important part of this practice, as close as you can to the outer bone. So heel towards the outer bone, pushing your foot into your hand, kind of bringing it back in there. And then, if it gets there, you might be able to catch from the big toe side, so your fingers are pointing towards the pinky toe side, and then spin your fingers up. So this is known as Ardha Bakasana, or half, one of the frog poses, half frog pose. We'll do the same thing on the other side, using optional Sphinx pose, or face down, optional strap or hand. If you have the hand, try to get your thumb on the big toe side, so it's a hitchhiking move. Press your pelvis down, and that will also protect your back. So if you let your pelvis come up, it's going to put more strain on your back. So press your pelvis down, push your foot into your hand or your strap like you're trying to open, and then relax and bring it a little closer. And pause at that spot where it just has a natural stopping point. Push the foot into the hand, but don't let the angle of the knee open anymore. And relax. Push the foot to the hand or into the strap. Again, you can be in this position, forehead down. And relax. See how close the heel is going to come in. It might get pretty close to the bum, and if it does, your fingers point towards the pinky toe side and then spin up towards the front of your yoga mat. Okay, exhale and release. So really offer yourself a moment of full release here. Shimmy your hips a bit side to side. And if you're feeling like you want something really energetic, just an energetic pop in the middle of class, you can come onto your forearms in plank and shimmy your hips side to side in a forearm plank. Enough of that. Let's bring the hands back to either side of the ribs. Press up through the table pose. And just pause in table. Do a couple of motions side to side so that your right ear comes closer to your right hip, makes the C shape. Left ear comes closer to the left hip, making the C shape of the spine. And then a few rounds of cat and cow. So curl your fingers into the floor, even inside of table. I want you to start to really get used to being active in your hands. So curling your fingers into the floor means fingertips are pressing down. Base of the fingers are pressing down. Heel of the hand pressing down. And you're going to drop your belly, open your chest. Big inhale, and then exhale, and round out towards the side. Elbows are straight, push the floor away. Inhale, drop the belly, pull the chest forward. Exhale, and round, 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 round. Inhale, belly down, heart forward. And exhale. Please come to neutral. And let's bring the knees all the way to touch one another. Reach your right leg back. You can, if you really energize that leg, like you're pushing the wall behind you away from you, you can feel the glutes kick in, the calves kick in, everything kicks in. Front shin kicks in. And then draw your knee into your nose. See if you can draw it in so much that your foot comes over. And now your thigh over thigh inside of table pose. So this is Gomukhasana legs, and you can always use your blanket here to give you a little cushion for your knee or your knees. Separate your feet a little and start to shimmy your way backwards. Some of you guys might be able to sit all the way between your heels, but again, we're working within reason. Your block is heavy here if you want a stopping point. And I'm a big fan of oscillations. So oscillations, something like this little windshield wiping of the hips, a little side to side. It's really powerful for the nervous system to tell the muscles and the ligaments and the tendons that it's an okay position to be in, even if your body has never ever been in this position before, and however many decades it's been alive. Please inhale. Shift it back to center. Unwind. We'll unwind in a pretty simple way. Use the cushion for your knees or not. Activate through your hands, still in table pose. Activate through your elbows. And press your left leg back behind you. Scoop your belly here, so every opportunity of strengthening your glutes and strengthening your legs is also an opportunity to engage through the core, to create stability all the way through the crown of the head. And we're going to draw this knee in as close as possible to the nose, and see if you can wiggle your foot across the other side. So it becomes thigh over thigh. Hug the thighs together, separate through the feet. And again, start to shimmy your way backwards. Start to windshield wipe, oscillate your hips back in space. Again, giving yourself whatever support you might need behind you, if any. Taking your time, using your breath to let the nervous system tell the hips that everything is A-okay in this shape. Inhale through center, and exhale and unwind pretty conventionally. So, step your right foot all the way up between your hands. And this can be really tender for the knee sometimes. So I'm going to give you two techniques. One, extra cushion. Life's short, you only have one left knee. And two, you can actually roll to the front of the kneecap for what we're going to do next. And feel that you're not on the kneecap anymore. Your two blocks, perfect. They can come in handy under your hands just like this. So the first thing we're going to do, the blocks are optional by the way, the first thing that we're going to do is press the pelvis forward. So you're going to press the pelvis forward towards your front heel. But you're going to keep the same spirit of scooping your belly, making space for that little ant colony to travel underneath. So belly engaged, pelvis presses forward. You should really feel this in your left glutes. And you might want to take your left block down to one of the lower positions and bring your right hand onto your right knee. You're going to keep pressing the pelvis forward. Look over your right shoulder. Stack shoulder over shoulder so that your right shoulder is vertically aligned with your left. Keep that left cheek active and pressing forward. You can even bring your hand back there if you wish to really feel that press. And then final option, only because we've already warmed up the quads, bend your back knee potentially and catch that foot. Now you can do the same thing with your strap here. So just make a little lasso with your strap and catch hold of the foot. You'll notice that as you're bending the knee, that the hamstrings, the muscle at the back of the thigh, they have to really work to get the heel in close to your hip. Press your pelvis forward, lift your chest, roll back. One more breath. Maybe bring the heel in a little closer if that works for you. Notice if your hips rise up like mine did. And then slowly release, but just keep the leg down. You're going to go back to your blocks if you have them. Wiggle your front foot a little more forward and find your way into half splits. This is known as the half splits. Make your thigh active. If you actively engage your quads here, it will allow your hamstrings to open more. Make sure your standing leg, so to speak, is vertical, and this front leg is out and far enough in front of you so you have all that space. You're going to wiggle a little side to side and do something very similar that we did on our backs earlier. So you're going to walk your blocks all the way off the right side of your yoga mat, off the right side of your leg. Keep this foot active, keep the toes curling back and the thigh pressing down, and feel feel this now on the outside of your leg. So for anyone who wants to, of course, you have the option of either walking your blocks out and folding forward in this fashion, or walking straight down, nose in the direction of the movement. So no pressure either way. We're seeking in this practice a well-rounded hip, hamstring, quad opener. And so the hamstrings may not be as warm as if we just focused on them exclusively for the last 35 minutes. When you are ready, you're gonna bend into your front knee, dig a little bit of a hole here, activate the muscles in the back of the leg, and then just notice if it can release a little bit further, if it has a bit more give to it. And you can do that contract, relax technique one more time. Dig the heel into the floor a little bit, and relax. Good. Slowly draw the foot back. Place the knees side by side. Hands to the floor. Shake out your table pose. And we'll step the left foot forward. I'm going to spin around so I can show this from the other angle. So your left foot's forward, hands optionally on the blocks. Back knee is potentially on the blanket or the pillow, and you're going to roll forward to the front of the back kneecap. So you're going to roll forward to the front of the back kneecap so that you're very much not putting pressure on the kneecap. Left hand to the left thigh. Right hand down on the block, maybe in the middle position. And you're going to take the pelvis, press it forward towards your front heel, and squeeze your right glute. Like try to really squeeze it so that you're pressing forward and getting motion there. Stack your left shoulder over your right. Keep an energetic press of the right hand into the block. An option to bend your back leg. You can bend and straighten it a couple times. And only if you can feel that you can still press your pelvis forward and catch your back foot, then you're gonna go for it. The strap as a lasso is also helpful here. Push your foot just very lightly into your hand and look out over your left shoulder. Some monkey twist. And this last stage, of course, is optional. Slowly release your foot and frame your front foot with your blocks, wiggling the foot out in front of you and finding your way into the half splits. Practice contract, relax here. So you're going to dig your heel in, activating the muscles at the back of the legs, and then relax. And then curl your toes back towards your eyes so that the thigh pushes down and the shin is active, so that everything on the front of the leg is really active, and that will help open up the back. Bend your knees slightly again, digging the heel in, activating the back of the leg. Feeling the hamstrings get strong and active. Contract. And then release it out. Keep working with that, maybe even folding forward, or walk your hands and blocks off the left edge of your yoga mat so that you get the outer aspect of the thigh. Really active, full in your breath. Option to draw your nose in the direction of your knee. bend into your front knee. Step this front foot back towards a sit. And just take a moment, either sitting on your heels or sitting on your block. Or sitting in whatever way feels comfortable for you. Just to take stock of how your body feels right in this moment. You might notice warmth, you might notice freedom, you might notice that, I hope not, but you might notice that you're clenching your teeth. And so just scan the body, notice what you can let go of. Taking a full breath in like we did in the beginning of class. And let out a big sigh. We're gonna move the blanket, the block, all the props off to the side. Have your blanket there nearby if you want it for under your knees for Savasana. But I'm gonna recommend Savasana with the block in the lowest position, just under your pelvis. The knees dropping in one to the other and the arms palms up by your sides. If you prefer, or if you're in the position and whatever reason decide you don't want to be anymore, you can bring the hips down to the floor, keeping the feet far apart from one another, knees knocking in on one another. You can take it out into a traditional Shavasana. Let your eyes close and your body unwind. Notice the heaviness of your bones, soft expression on your face. Allowing every muscle in the body, muscles of the eyes, of the scalp, the legs, the torso, the glutes, everything to soften down and be in a state of total relaxation. Bringing your awareness back to your breath, to the inhale, expansion of your ribs and your abdomen. Exhale, softening and contraction. Slowly place your hands down on your belly. Deepening your breath. To move organically, maybe wiggling your toes, wiggling your fingers. If you're still on the block, you can lift your hips up Sweep the block out of the way and draw your knees into your chest. Gently rock side to side with your knees into your chest. Traditionally, we rock to the right at the end of the yoga practice to put the more yang, more masculine, more solar energy below the feminine, the lunar, the softer energy. But if you're feeling more congested on the right nostril, you can also roll to the left to drain your sinuses a little bit. And then slowly press up from whichever side you roll to. Please find a comfortable seat. Taking a big breath, let out a big sigh. We'll close the practice with one Om from the belly. Full breath in.